Hello, my name is Jamie Morrison. I'm just going to give this short 5-10 minute info recording about hosting one of our 30 or 45 HP or credit master's students on their master's thesis project. As you can see from the title screen, I'm from the Institute of Pharmacy. So we're going to be talking today mainly about students in the pharmacy department or at the pharmacy faculty at Uppsala University. Our pharmacy faculty is actually quite large. We have many different programs and courses, and I'm not going to talk about all of them today. In fact, the ones I'm going to focus on more are the international master's programs in drug development, drug modeling, and the new one that will be starting in the autumn of 2022, biopharmaceuticals. Now, of course, I'm going to give information predominantly about these three programs, but of course, we're always looking for hosts to take on thesis project students from the master's program in therapeutical drug use and also in clinical pharmacy. However, these two programs are a little bit more specialized and usually require a more specialized host. However, if you are interested in those programs, please be sure to look them up in the pharmacy faculty homepages at Uppsala University. Now, as I said, we have 3 international master's programs, and these master's programs go on for 2 years. They're made up of predominantly courses that they take in the first year. And in the second year, they then are obliged to take a 30 or 45, what we call HP or credit master's thesis project. And what we're looking for are for these students to actually branch out into the different fields related to the programs they're studying and do a elongated project with a specific host. Now, of course, we can host them at our university, but of course, there are lots and lots of students. As you can see here, there's approximately 30 or 40 students per program per year. They're made up of a national and international intake. And what we are looking for is to supplement the different projects that we can do at Uppsala University, but we'd like to supplement them also with external hosts. And when we talk about external hosts, we talk about other academic institutes, other academic departments, but also we're looking at more industrial level external hosts. And we can also think about governmental bodies, regulatory bodies relating to drug development. So any type of research institute at a biopharmaceutical, at a bioindustry, at an academic level, regulatory or government-based, these are the people that we're aiming this presentation at. Just to give a short background into the 3 programs, we have the Master's Program in Drug Development, which is administered by Luke Odell at Uppsala University. This program is to do with drug development in general, looking from both the concept of idea all the way through to the registered product. So here, the students will actually be aiming to pursue careers later on in therapeutic drug industry from both a governmental and academic sectors. If you want to find out more about this specific course, of course, visit the website that's highlighted in blue at the bottom of the page. We also have the Master's Program in Drug Modeling, and this is administered by Per Larsen. And this is slightly different to the drug development because we're looking at more predictive modeling. How can we actually predict how the drugs are going to work? And again, this course will hopefully prepare the students for careers in, again, therapeutic drug and biotechnology industries, governmental agencies, and continued academic studies. So, for example, if they want to pursue careers in a PhD, for example. And again, at the bottom of the screen, you can see a blue link taking you to more information. This is me, Master's Program in Biopharmaceutical. Biopharmaceuticals have become exponentially much more important over the last 10 to 15 years, with lots of development of using a more custom-made therapy to treat different disorders of the body. And this is what the program is basically about, again, from design of biopharmaceuticals through to the preclinical, clinical testing, and also into the regulatory aspects of producing biopharmaceuticals. Again, very similar to the other 2 programs, we want the students to be able to pursue a career in research and development from an academic or an industry level, But again, we also open to governmental and regulatory agencies. So this is a very new program. It starts in autumn of 2022. And again, you can find out more information about this in the pages below. So these are the 3 international master's programs that I'm advertising at the minute. And these are the 3 programs where we really are craving the need for external hosts. We can't host all of the students ourselves, or at least not comfortably anyway. So we would like external hosts to come in and take on these very talented students and take them for a 30 or 45 point project. So in order for you to be a host, you need to find a few more details out about what it actually means to be a host. So the student will take on a thesis project, and usually it will take place over 1 semester if it's a 30 point or credit course, and this is normally between January to June, or the more extended thesis project, which is 45 credits or 45 points, and this normally goes on for 1.5 semesters. And again, usually the time scale is from October to June. The whole thesis project starts with you and the student sitting down and coming up with a preliminary project together. So you have to come up with a project plan, which is then submitted to the course coordinator. So there will be different course coordinators for each of the master's thesis projects. So for example, for the drug development and for the modeling course, you will have Luke and Per respectively. And for the biopharmaceutical course, you will have myself and another person called Nicole, who will also be administering that course. Usually during the master's thesis project, there's a halftime presentation where the students discuss their progress. Again, this is mandatory and the student has to be given the opportunity to attend this halftime oral presentation. And then the actual thesis project itself is assessed via a written report, a scientific report usually, and also presentation in an end of year master's thesis project presentation series. So this is what basically is required of the master's student and of the host to be aware of. The primary supervisor can be anybody at the workplace where the project will be performed. The primary supervisor has the suitable competence in relevant areas and will be accessible to the student during the master's thesis project. And again, the primary supervisor is there to support the student, is be able to show the student how to work, how to encourage them to work independently. Now, the primary supervisor has to have a PhD. However, if the supervisor does not have a PhD or is in the process of gaining their PhD, they can still be a supervisor for the student. However, we also have to appoint an academic supervisor from Uppsala University. And this academic supervisor will oversee and make sure that the oral and written report meet the required scientific standards and meet the standards of the course plan of the master's thesis project. However, that doesn't mean that the supervisor, if they're not the primary supervisor, it doesn't mean that the supervisor doesn't have to read the written report. In fact, we actively encourage it. So basically, we want the host supervisor and the host to make the student comfortable in that workplace, make everything available for that student to be able to present their work and critically evaluate what they're doing throughout the whole period of their thesis project. Now, there are certain responsibilities of the host. So, for example, the supervisor, primary or otherwise, has to sign an application form for the degree project, and this is before the student registers for the course. The student has to become familiar with the workplace. So whether it's an academic institution, a industrial workplace, regulatory workplace, it doesn't make a difference. The student has to be immersed in the practices of the workplace to where they will be doing their thesis project. So they have to do, for example, safety. They have to do things like take part in departmental meetings, all the things that are required of normal employees within the workplace. Again, the host is there to actually assist and encourage the student. So again, we want the student to be as independent as possible. We want them to be able to carry out as much of the work independently as possible. Now, of course, that will require lots of supervision to begin with. However, after a while, we hope for them to be very independent. Again, the project plan has to be discussed between the host and the student, and this has to be done no later than 3 weeks after starting the work. So again, it doesn't have to be done in advance. So the first few weeks are usually for the student to find their feet, get used to the workplace, and with the supervisor, come up with a project plan. If there are problems with the students, if there are problems one way or another with the research project, then of course the supervisor, the host, has to contact the course coordinator. And again, we can make that information available to you as soon as you start taking on a student. And what we would really, really like is, as I said, at the end, there's going to be a 1 or 2 day seminar series where the students present their projects orally. It would be really, really great if 1 or 2, 3 members of the host institution can actually come along and support the student within their oral presentation. One thing that's very, very important, and I think this probably aims more for industrial, but it can also be for the academic side, is that the students must do their own project. They're not basically there to be a dog's body or a lab engineer or a technician that will basically do tasks that will keep the company, keep the academic group running along nicely. They have to do their own project. So in other words, they have to have a research question, they have to do experimentation to answer those research questions, and then move on with the research question. Now, of course, it could well be as well that the host institution requires a sort of assurance that anything that could be patentable, things that have a bit of a sensitive nature and they don't want to be let out, for example, into the public domain just yet. Of course, we do acknowledge that, and it's up to each individual student to make sure that they find this out with the host. And you can fill in different secrecy agreements, for example, that the student and the host can sign together. Now, again, this is at the total responsibility of the student. And when they're presenting their work, either written in a written format or an oral format, it is okay for them to leave out specific details so they don't have to disseminate all the parts of the project. So that's okay. And I've put a link here which you can go to, and this is an information site in English that basically talks about the different secrecy sides of theoretical projects when students actually carry out theoretical projects. And there are even templates for material disclosure agreements, for example, or disclosure agreements that you can use and sign if you see fit. So again, it has to be their own project. If the project is of a sensitive nature and you don't want to publicize it so much, then of course you can sign these agreements. And again, I urge you to go to this website here. You can also at Uppsala University advertise your projects in what's referred to as a project portal. So again, you can advertise projects within this list here. More information, if you require it, I can provide to you as to how you get access to the project portal. And it could even be that if you have a project that you would like to sign up for or sign a student up for, we can put this into the project portal for you. The students have access to this. They can look through the different projects and they can actually contact you independently. The project portal is obviously very, very good. We do advertise this with the students. However, we do also emphasize that we want the students to actually look for projects themselves. So this isn't the only way that you can advertise your projects. Of course, you can advertise your projects through me or through the other course coordinators that run the thesis projects. So with that said, I'm going to leave it there and leave this open as an open question to you. Is there any questions? Now, of course, you're not here, but you can contact me at the address that's here on this screen. And if you are very, very interested in hosting a student from our department, either from the 3 programs I've advertised today or the other programs within the pharmacy department or faculty at Uppsala University, then please contact me. Give me an idea of the different research fields that you would like the students to work with, that you work with. Give me some contact details of the people that are the most important ones to talk to when it comes to hosting a student. It would be great as well if you could tell us which programs you're interested in. whether it's a 30-point or 45-point course that you would like the students to take part in. And if you could give us an idea of numbers, are there any numbers of students? So can you take on 1 a year, 2 a year, 3 a year, or is it quite sporadic? It could be that 1 year you can take on students, other years you can't. So again, if you can provide this information in the email to us, we can start making a list of all of the different academic institutions or the industry institutions or the governmental agencies that are interested, and we can make this list available to the students and they can start contacting you with ideas of projects that they would like to do. So with that said, I'm going to leave it there. If there's any information that you need from me, please contact me at the email below.